live now. Just give me a quick second to check on YouTube to make sure we're going. And that appears to be the case. Alright, so hello again everyone. You can call me Jimmy, all my friends do, and this is a live stream of Dark Souls 2. Last time we left off, I was in this first forest area, stuck in the area behind me, just sort of doing a loop, trying to find a way out of it. Turns out if I just look to the right here, when I'm sitting at the bonfire, I could see the ladder leading out. So today, hopefully we can get through this and actually get to the boss of the Forest of Fallen Giants area. Again, this live stream will run from 6 p.m. to about 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. local time. So with that, let's continue. So before I advance on through that, down that ladder, there's an area I need to check upstairs first. So, and it looks like indeed I did bust down this door and at least look in this area. If I'm right, yeah, that guy's playing dead there. Take care of him. There should be another chest in this room unless, yeah, it looks like I smashed it after I opened it. And then also down on this branch right here, there should be another divine blessing. So pick that up, drop back down, and just so that we have the maximum possible health as we proceed forward. Again, just kind of a quick recap. This character is a dual-wield swordsman, or I started out as a swordsman class. I'm going to stay sort of as a complete dual-wield, not really using any defensive shields or anything, relying on dodging mostly for my defense. And we'll continue on from here. Again, how I see this playing out, especially with the change in ease that they put into dual-wielding, is really focusing on sort of keeping my enemies stun locked and performing combos with a variety of weapons. Some other changes I made to the character, sort of in the intermediary, was I put two daggers equipped. That wasn't on screen. That was something I just in my own experimentation added on. The reason for that is, as you can see, it gives sort of that real nice attack speed. But again, just sort of trying to keep up variety with the dual-wielding variety is always key, and has always been since Dark Souls 1. So this time, during the live stream, you'll notice I'll probably be a lot more direct in what I'm doing. Since the release of the game, I've had time to create other characters and sort of get ahead of where I am. So there won't be as many of the learning issues that were present during the first stream I had. Again, just knowing the locations a lot better than I previously did. All the good stuff that comes with the first time playing the game. A lot of those issues will have more or less been dealt with, and you'll actually just get to see me playing and hopefully kicking ass for you guys. So this area here, this is actually another kind of optional side area similar to that lower forest area by the bonfire, but there is an important NPC in this area that I want to get to. And as always, when you guys watch this, feel free to leave comments, feedback, all that good stuff. I appreciate all of it, and I will try and take into account as much of it as I can. Hopefully I will be able to answer you guys in a more timely fashion. Again, Dark Souls does require a fair bit of concentration, but again, I'll try and keep an eye on the comments as much as possible without neglecting my gameplay. But again, can't make any promises that there's going to be, anything awesome with that going on right now. Still sort of working on delivery, all that good stuff. And so one of the things I guess I can comment on right now with being the sort of forcing myself into this dual wield play style, especially with these curse swords, which right now seem to have a really slow attack speed for me. I'm thinking that's something that'll probably get better with increased dex and increased adaptability. But one of the things I'm noticing is that with my other characters, I was extremely reliant on my shield, and as I don't have this option, it actually adds a real interesting level of difficulty to the game. Again, it's going to probably do the same thing that my first dual-wielding character in Dark Souls 1 did, and that is really force you to learn rolling, learn combos, learn enemy openings much more actively than if you're using a shield.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Kale. I am a traveler, like yourself. I'm navigating the continent to create a map. Why cartography, you ask? Well, that's a good question. When I first came to this forsaken land, it was... a curse? Something about a curse. How embarrassing. I seem to have lost my focus. But I do know one thing for certain. I have always been very fond of maps. I came to this land some time ago. Drangleic, the Lost Kingdom. It sounded so romantic. Have you seen Majula? Oh, there's a rather spacious mansion there. I've made it my temporary home, well, as something of a squatter, I'm afraid. Inside the mansion, I found a strange map, like none I'd ever seen. I believe that it's a map of Drangleic. Now I'm traveling the land to prove it. Yes, that's it. That's why I came to the... Wait. No. That wasn't it. Then what? I don't seem to recall. Were you looking for that map? Wonderful. Then you're fascinated by maps, just like me. Shame on you. You should have told me before. Here, take this. A key to the mansion. What a joy to meet a kindred spirit out here. Incredible, really, isn't it? Such a map to be chiseled in stone. Oh, but one thing. I would not venture deep into the mansion. I can't be certain, but I've heard disturbing noises. Something about it feels wrong. Just be careful, please. I'll be back in Majula soon. Perhaps we will meet again and discuss maps at our leisure.
Alright, so that exhausts all of Kale's dialogue there. I believe that was his name. I always forget his name because he doesn't follow you around. After this point, he, for the most part, stays in Majula, studying that map that he was talking about. And speaking of, let's return to Majula, because there is actually... might have already bought it from the hag, yes. There's a Pharaoh's Lockstone in the basement of that mansion. Or not in the basement, it's actually on the main floor, and there's another item in the basement. But again, those Pharaoh's Lockstones are actually quite useful in... they either activate certain things, usually they will open hidden passages, stuff like that. There's a covenant later on where you can actually use them to alter the environment to be more favorable for you in PvP. So they're a useful thing to have, and they are kind of rare unless you're part of that specific covenant. So worthwhile to, if you know where they are, worthwhile to grab them as soon as you can, and use them use them when you want to use them, I guess, or when you need to use them. So I'm gonna take the load screen here to check to make sure that YouTube's working properly. And it appears that it is. So I'm gonna keep talking. So that guy is going to be all the way in this back mansion over here. Again, the reason I'm running through this is there's a good amount of loot and some interesting things. There is actually a map in the basement. It's a large stone map, so it isn't something that you get put in your inventory and help you navigate around. As much as something like that might add or detract from Dark Souls, I think this is actually a pretty... How they implement it later in the game is actually fairly interesting. So, as we can see, this sort of... Right now it looks like a large... blah. Can't really make anything meaningful out of that stone inset on the ground, but this is indeed the map that guy was talking about. And down in the basement we have our skeleton. So again, if you have a weapon with a decent enough poise break, you can just sort of keep him stun locked and wear him down like that. He is a little bit higher level mob than you would normally face at this level, but he's not that difficult seeing as he's by himself, and he doesn't face the problem of putting himself back together. And after you kill him that first time, I believe he stays dead for the rest of the game. Again, no real reason to come back down to this basement, but I believe he doesn't come back, so you can't really farm him. So now that we've dealt with the lower levels of the mansion, just run upstairs. So right, as you can see in that chest, quite a few Titanite shards, which obviously useful. Again, used to upgrade weapons.
I knew you. I'll be around if you make it back.
Is that it? Here, let me see it. So that I'm to see light. However...
And yes, that is one of the downsides of exiting the mansion from the upstairs level as I did, is you aggro these, they aren't even rats really, they're more like mini boars, which have a ridiculously high defense for some reason. Fairly easy to dodge and anticipate when they're going to attack, as long as you have a weapon that swings for the most part, downwards, you'll be able to hit them. And they only really have those 2 attacks. And dealt with.
Is that a ship? Here, to see. However.
So again, you have to talk with the Emerald Herald here to reinforce your Estus Flask, get more uses out of it, as well as level up, which I'm going to do now. So I can get 1 level out of this. Alright, and now we're going to return to the forest and proceed onwards. Again, with this live stream, I will probably be able to make it to the giant. He isn't that far off. There is some... Not to say that there's almost nothing in between me and him, but there isn't a huge amount. And that's probably when I'll end the live stream. So now that we've talked to the map guy down below, to proceed on to the boss, you simply sprint all the way up this tree branch here that prevents 2 of the hollow foot soldiers from following you up. You can deal with that hollow soldier right there, and you should be able to sneak up on this guy if you do it. Yeah, almost. Now I could use this guy to actually open up a shortcut back to the bonfire. If you see those barrels at the end there, these will explode, and if you hit them with a fire attack. But I would rather not. It's a fairly difficult thing to pull off, and well, at least difficult for me right now, as I'm still learning the dodges, and I'm actually counting more on being aggressive than I am actually trying to dodge with these foot soldier type mobs. Unless that is, we have a firebomb, which I do not see that we do. Definitely want to avoid that. And they actually made our lives a little bit easier if we want to advance on and open a different shortcut, which I think I will. So, and actually, as you can see with the Falchion and Scimitar here, I actually have a pretty good setup as far as dual wielding goes. You see the attacks with Falchion tend to... I believe that's a Falchion, just let me double check that. Right. Yeah. But as you can see, the attacks with the Falchion, real wide arc. Scimitar has that real shallow the first strike is a shallower side swing, and then that vertical sweep. Again, those actually do make a fairly nice combination just in allowing me to adjust what I'm attacking for different purposes. So this chest... Okay, that wasn't as bad as it could have been. This chest is always trapped. Seems to be random. Either it'll do that poison trap, which is, as you can see, easy to get away from, or occasionally it will do a crossbow trap. And what the crossbow traps do is a crossbow pops up out of the chest, fires 3 volleys of bolts in a wide arc in front of the chest, and that can be difficult to dodge if you dodge away from the chest. What I found with that is dodging to the side and then behind the chest, you're generally outside of its arc of fire. But this level, just 2 of those, well, one of those crossbow shots could probably kill me, seeing as I don't have a huge amount of vitality. Knock, knock. So, and that right there is actually a pretty good demonstration of a guard break attack. So as you can see, if you, it's the same control as what a kick would be for Dark Souls 1. That forward at the same time and the right and your attack bumper. And as you can see, I can do it with both weapons. If you hit an enemy shield with that, you have a chance to destabilize them, and what you have to do is get in point blank, and if you attack, you'll go into a basically a counter animation, and it is the critical damage that you're doing. So, as you can see from the chest, I picked up a few rings, and from my other playthroughs, I've been actually keeping the Corinthy ring for almost the entire game. Just haven't found anything that is really a good replacement for it. I mean, and I'll probably keep it on this character too, especially just because ensuring that I have enough stamina after I attack to dodge and that my stamina recovers quickly is important.
Hello there. Traveling all alone in these treacherous times. Well, I hope you have a very good reason. Oh, hogwash. Who am I to judge? My name is Pate. I journey hither and thither on a sort of treasure hunt, you might call it. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself. Oh yes, you be cautious if you go any farther. There's treasure in there for certain, but the entrance locks from behind. I saw the same design earlier, and it's the same contraption, I'm sure. I was with this warrior, you see, and he insisted that he go inside first. The rather brusque fellow tried to swipe the loot for himself, but it trapped him inside. I still have the gent's ring. I do hope he wasn't harmed. I'll leave this one to you.
So, and Pete here, again, I've gotten to the point in the game where I've seen other NPCs mention him, but I'm still not entirely certain if he is a Patches type character or not. When you see him later on, he definitely sort of fits that profile with the spear. You can actually summon him during the boss fight for this area, and he has the Spear Great Shield set up, which immediately makes me think of trusty Patches from the other games, but I have a feeling that Patches is such a staple of the Souls franchise, or of actually From Software's work in general, that if they made a Patches character, they would simply name him Patches. But again, I haven't yet come across a point in the game where he plays that role. I mean, he was actually kind enough here to tell you ahead of time that, hey, you're going to get trapped, and doing this is actually important for another reason, which you shall see in a minute here. And again, kind of another side note about the reposting there. You see a guard broke the Hollow Soldier there with a spear. Yeah, even though I was within attack range and clearly hit him, it still didn't go into that parry animation. I'm not sure if it's because there is a specific poise break limit that you have to hit, or if there are other mechanics at play, such as even something as simple as my distance to the mob could be a reason why, you know, I didn't get that riposte animation off. So, and there we see there's another secret passage here. Again, how you open secret passages and these hidden areas in Dark Souls 2 is actually very different from Dark Souls 1. Again, from my experience thus far in the game, the only doors that you actually strike to open are the ones that are revealed from the Pharaoh's Lockstones. All the others, you just have to hit the, on Xbox it's the A button at the appropriate wall, at the appropriate time, and it'll open. They do appear to be fairly laxed in exactly, you know, how far away from the wall can you be to actually hit the button and activate it. It's not too unreasonable. I think it's actually much better than just striking an illusionary type wall and calling that the end of it.
Well, I see you managed to escape. I hope that brave warrior didn't come a cropper either. Be careful out there. There's talk of unsavory bandits who prey upon travelers like yourself. Oh, but you should take this. It allows undead to call out for help to one another across the fissures between worlds. With luck, somebody will lend you a hand. Well, I hope that
So, as you can see, that gave me the normal white soapstone. And from that room above the previous bonfire, should be in here. No, right in front of my face, I wasn't paying attention. So we have the small white the small white sign soapstone and the white sign soapstone. The ways these differ: the small white sign soapstone, you're summoned for a shorter duration of time. I believe it's usually something like Titanite. I could be wrong on that though. And then the regular soapstone is what you use to gain tokens of fidelity through beating a boss while being summoned. That just completely dealt with the Turtle Knight for me. So, for those of you wondering what happened there, when I tripped the ballistas in the other room, one of the bolts happened to hit a explosive barrel on this end. That did a good amount of that Turtle Knight's health. And then I used those guys up above who are tossing firebombs down to ignite another set of explosive barrels, which finished off the Turtle Knight and made it so I don't have to deal with him. So the durability on my weapons is starting to get down. I should probably, at this point, again, for those of you just playing through on your first time, this would probably be a good point to consider possibly ending your loop. But again, because I know exactly how much I have to deal with as ahead, I'm going to muscle through this part here. And we are actually almost at the completion of this loop, and we're actually a good bit ahead of schedule too. So the last area I'll probably want to save that. Actually, I know I want to save it. So, and again, putting a little bit more reliance on my offhand weapon right now. That's simply to ensure that I don't get a weapon break. Again, weapon breaks are really expensive in this game to fix. But again, luckily here I also have backup weapons in case my main hand ones get low on durability. So, Moving on. Alright, Fog Gate again. This isn't the boss gate, but this is actually very close to that boss gate. From the bonfire. Some loot back here. Occasionally there's also people leaving messages saying that there's a way to open that door. I haven't found that yet. So, and this elevator here actually does lead down to the boss. And simply open this gate here, and then we've done the full loop of the forest. So I'm going to travel back to Majula to level up and probably buy some more arrows. And then we will actually go down and take on the boss.
Bearer of the... Seek, lest this land swallow you.
Alright, I put both points there. Yeah, I think rounding out Dex at 20 is probably going to be what I want to do. Again, building this character to be really offensive and not... Again, focus on avoiding taking hits as much as possible.
I'll be around.
So, and I can buy, again, with a Dex-based character, you can really afford to just get those plain old bolts as, or plain wooden arrows, not bolts, as you're actually going to have the Dex attack power behind the bow to make up for that lost damage. Now, it still is a good idea to get advanced bolts, or advanced arrows, and different types of ammo for your ranged capabilities as you go, but for just the most part, if you're doing a Dex-based character, I'd really recommend just stocking up on normal arrows. There's no reason why those can't get you through the game, especially if you have a high enough Dex to put a good bonus for your bow. But we're not going to be using the bow for this boss. Well, there is actually one thing we can use the bow for. And didn't quite work out as planned. Alright, so now we're going to drop down into the boss room here. Or you don't drop directly down into the boss room. So, this floodgate here is the boss for the Forest of Fallen Giants. As you can see, there's a number of summon signs, and we even have Pate here. But I think I'm going to, again, so far in my playthrough I've been kind of relying on it. I think I'm going to try and avoid summons if I can for this playthrough, give you guys a straight up, go all the way on my own if possible experience. So, this guy's moveset is actually similar to the Giants in Dark Souls 1. What you really have to watch out for is these stomps. Yeah. And you want to be behind, and again, one of the easiest ways to actually get in there is have him charge you and just dodge forward through the legs. And if possible, you kind of want to stay actually between the legs if possible. Again, centered and slightly to the back, and you really need to watch out for when he does that. And he might do something else here, which is going to make this a bit tricky. Still not going for that arm rip yet. Okay, now he is, so... yeah. Not watching out for those steps as much as I should. And hey, got him first try. So just write down a little message. Yep, didn't leave it. So, and that's another thing that they changed. You no longer need the orange soapstone to leave messages. It's just select, go over into your menu, and be sure that you save it. There's also another advantage to this. When people rate your message, it actually serves to heal you. So the more messages you leave, the more likely you are to get healed, though I think there might be a hard limit to how many messages you can write or how long they stick around for. So, and the soldier key actually unlocks 2 doors in this area that I'm aware of. First one is this door here, which I believe this is where you go much closer towards the end of the game. I haven't yet gotten to a point where I've been able to open this door. There's another door like it on another part of the world. Again, haven't been able to open either. Also, way back here is a chest for another ring, which I tend to use quite frequently, and that is that Ring of Restoration. So that's actually a fairly heavy ring. As you can see, all the other rings are only weighing 0.2. That ring weighs a full 1. So it's a heavy ring, but that life restoration is actually enough to make it useful for a good portion of the game. I haven't gotten to a point where I found anything that's so much better that it's worth taking off the ring for. And then the other door is here. And actually, before I do that, I think we're going to run back and level up. Just because that area up ahead is filled with turtle knights, and at this point in the game, they can be quite a doozy. Just to... Okay. So I have exhausted all of her dialogue.
Thank you.
So, and actually when I return to Majula, she will be there, and the map guy will also be back in, well, let's just call it town.
Seek so, seek, lest this
So for this level up, I'm actually going to throw points in Vigor, Endurance, and Vitality. Maybe not Vitality. Yeah, I think I'm going to hold off on Vitality for the moment. I'm also going to upgrade my Strength a little bit. Again, there is a base level Strength, even with a Dex build. I'm going to have to put some points into Strength just to be able to use the best weapons for your character. I think with a 12, I'm actually good to use almost all of the one-handed straight swords as well as the curved swords. So, just to double check that. Right, I could now equip the High Knight straight sword, which I'm going to avoid doing. It's a good sword, but it kind of sits in this odd area. As you can see, it does lightning damage, and has a sea and lightning scaling. And I believe the only way to increase that is with faith. So if you're doing a strength wisdom build, the High Knight weapons are phenomenal. Otherwise, they're still good weapons, just not something I'm going to, not what I'm building this class for. So I believe that also, yeah, I can now use most of the shields, most of the regular shields. The other thing, So, and then there's the issue of consuming boss souls. Again, the first character that I actually took far, I saved almost every boss soul so I could turn it into a weapon just to see what was available. I believe, if I remember correctly, the last giant gives you a great axe. I'm actually almost certain that it does give you a great axe. And I don't believe I'm going to be doing that, so again, my philosophy is if you have an idea of what's going to give you, or you don't plan on using boss soul weapons, go ahead and consume them like any other soul. Otherwise, the weapons I think are definitely worthwhile. Haven't gotten to a point where they're high enough level to rival any of the, well, they can rival, but they aren't necessarily better or worse than any regular weapon you'd find in the game. So with that, and we need Titanite. Well, the other thing, I'm just going to buy him out. So the other thing with Titanite, it is a much more finite resource in this game than it was in Dark Souls 1. You definitely get enough of it, especially when you get to the later blacksmith, but it is something to kind of keep an eye on. Make sure you don't go crazy upgrading things which you're not going to be using. So as you can see, got both the falchion and my scimitar up to the point where they're using large titanite now, and started to upgrade the bow. Probably not going to upgrade it much further past that, because I do plan on using a boss soul for a later bow in the game. And as you can see, the old merchant moves here. And she sells all the same stuff. Difference being is now she has an unlimited amount of life gems. Again, they sell for the same price, but she is useful for that.
Lovely times these are.
So, and I believe I can buy 20 more arrows? Yeah. $10 a piece, or 10 souls a piece. 27.
I'll be around if you make it.
And I actually think I'm going to... and for reference, I actually probably should invest in a second set of weapons. Yeah, that is actually going to start to become an issue here in a bit, I think. But yeah, probably would be a good idea for me to invest in a second weapon set, simply because you do wear down your weapon's durability, and you're not always in a position to, especially later in the game, it's going to get to the point where you're going to need a primary set of weapons and then effectively a boss fight set of weapons. So, I know my first playthrough, I thought that you couldn't get past this area. Turns out I wasn't really looking hard enough. You can simply pull on this cord up here and drop down. But back to what I was talking about earlier. So you're going to need a primary set of weapons to basically deal with all the mobs on your way up to a boss fight, and then a boss set to deal with the boss itself. If you're going weapon and shield, actually not a huge issue. Again, you only really need to worry about your weapon. The shield, even with blocking a good amount of hits, still is relatively reliable for the boss fight. Doesn't lose so much durability from blocking that you can't use it effectively. So actually what I think I'm going to do for my just sort of, I will call it normal set, is switch over to maybe not even the flame sword, but no, for the moment we'll keep it like that. I think I can actually get to my item box and change out some weapons soon here, because there's another nearby bonfire. So as you can see, plenty of summon signs. It's good to see that the community is doing as well as it is. Whew, almost wiped off the ledge there. So I think so we're using flames. So this is actually something that is fairly useful when comparing weapons just in your inventory, especially with your item box. On the lower side, in the lower left corner of your inventory space, you see a weapon rating. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I think that's only taking into account weapon damage. But it gives you an idea of, it combines everything so that you're not doing the addition in your head. So as you can see, even compared to the flame sword, the scimitar does less damage. And the high knight sword is doing the least amount of damage of the three. And I think that's a scaling issue. The flame sword is only going off my flame, or no, it's going off of scaling for strength, dex, and flame. That's how they changed scaling in this game for elemental weapons, is you have less scaling, but you have actual elemental scaling too. And to get over to your box side, you just hit the bumper. And I think for my main set, I'm actually going to not use those weapons. Not that I don't like the straight swords in this game. My issue is more, again, aesthetics driven in this regard. And also the short swords are, I can go to power stance with them. Whereas I couldn't with the High Knight Sword and Flame Longsword. Although, yeah, no power stance. So, and you notice, again, I'm experimenting pretty heavily here with different weapon types for dual wielding. And the main point of that is, again, just sort of learning diversity, learning the game, and keeping up weapon variety while dual wielding. The daggers were definitely interesting with that fast attack speed, but they didn't have a punch to them. So you notice I'm checking these summon signs, not to summon anyone, but again, just to see and show you guys where the especially summonable NPCs are. If I know where one is ahead of time, I'll let you guys know that. I'll let you guys know when I get to it. But otherwise, again, just check to see if ow. And that was a mistake. So it's getting on close to 7 o'clock here. I think I'm going to kill this guy and then call it for the stream. Or kill that one enemy and then call it. And then just a strategy for these guys here. As you can see, the sword and shield ones have a sort of 3-swing pattern. You can dodge the first swing by simply walking to their sword side, and that actually opens their back to you. Dodging definitely puts you on a pretty big defensive from these guys. They just seem to track you better if you dodge, I guess. So I'm going to whittle this guy down with a bow first. Right, so, and for reference, that guy will not respawn, and he dropped an actual very important item. That's the Sublime Bone Dust, and that acts the same way that reinforcing your Estus Flask worked in the first game by using a Firekeeper's Soul. It makes your Estus Flask heal for more than it did before. Alright, it's 7 o'clock, and seeing as the stream's been pretty quiet, I'm going to call it. Thanks for watching. Please like, favorite, share, and subscribe. I will be back. I will probably be back next week, same time. That is subject to change, however. Again, my job is actually, well, it probably will change my hours here. So I might be working evenings in the near future. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week.